All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome you back to the A and J podcast. First of all, let me apologize before we go any further
For what?
for us not being
I'm not apologizing. We went through this before.
on deck the last
Life
couple
be
of weeks.
life, and
Yes, life does life, but I don't know what's been going around. But I definitely got a bug. My whole house basically got hit with a bug, a couple of different ones apparently. And I was out of commission the last 2 weeks. There wasn't no way I was recording. We traveled. I think we did give y'all an episode while we were traveling because we pre-recorded something. But after that, things just took place. They went out of my control, and I did not want to be on camera the way I was looking a week ago or 2 weeks ago.
I think more importantly, I had hip replacement surgery on.
Yeah, golf clap.
So when I was saying, life be life, and we, like you said, we traveled. We did have an episode that literally the week we came back, I was, wrapping up at work, and then the following Monday I was having surgery, and then as I was I'm still in the process of recovery at this point. I'm going into my third week. He got sick. So life be life, and I'm making a very intentional decision to not apologize anymore for life happening. We put out what we can when we can, and we do our best to be as consistent as possible. And those who support us, y'all know we mean well. So I'm not going to keep having episodes opening where we're like, I just want to apologize because I don't apologize. That's just me personally. Now that we've gotten to that.
Yeah. And I chose to apologize for me, not for us. Because
who's apologizing for getting sick? I think we just got to stop conditioning ourselves to do things out of politeness because it seems polite.
I just want to be more consistent in this. If we're going to do this, I would like to see what consecutive weeks of us recording look like for once.
I think we're doing pretty good.
I think we are too, and I think we were doing very good, and then life happened. So it is what it is, but that's not important. We're not starting there. That was just a brief little apologies from Jay, courtesy of Jay.
Now that we've gotten through that, so initially today we were supposed to have my brother as a guest. We're going to do a whole music episode, but he had to reschedule, so we're going to bring that to you guys another time. So today we just gonna freestyle a little bit, and we could just talk about things that are current events, music wise or otherwise. I don't know about y'all, but I think many of us are feeling the weight of inflation, and I have been finding it quite amusing to see some of the jokes. And I feel like we are people who we will find the joy and the laughter even great. And so I just want to say big ups to the comedians and people who try to keep it lighthearted, because sometimes it just gets overwhelming to see constant negative, things in the news and on social media. And I know a lot of people feel like sharing this stuff brings social awareness, but I'll be the first to tell y'all I do not feel obligated to social awareness because I prioritize my mental health above all else. And sharing and reposting senseless violence, senseless deaths, cop shootings, or whatever else, the rising gas prices, it doesn't help anything. You know what I mean? It doesn't, for me personally. So I don't knock those who do it. You got to do what you feel comfortable doing, but it's made traversing social media difficult. So I definitely find joy in those who continue to be a light in a different way, who share joy and laughter. And some of the posts that I've been seeing have been in direct reference to Drake's new album, Honestly Nevermind. And I want to talk about it because, first of all, we don't tolerate any Drake slander here. I'm an OG Degrassi fan. He be trying it, but he can't win with me. Now, let's be clear here. This is not about me thinking Drake is cute, not my taste, not my style, but I'm literally a fan. I mean, he has his moments, but no, he's not my taste. But I've been a fan of Drake since, I grew up watching Degrassi, you know what I mean? And I think it's been dope to watch his career, and I've always enjoyed, while I do not think he is a great singer, I don't think a lot of the people who sing nowadays can sing. So, but I've always been a fan of his creative direction with his music. Now I know
it's a good song.
Like I feel like he has a good arsenal or portfolio of music, and so when I see people coming for him in a try to trash his new album because it's like house music and techno, and I'm just like, y'all really have this desire to pigeonhole artists into this thing, this one thing. And I'm like, Drake let y'all know who he was when he started singing all this stuff. Drake let y'all know who he was. If you guys have paid attention to, as long as he's been putting out projects, on each album he has at least one pop song and one like emo, or like I'll say more house, upbeat, techno type songs. You can find one on every album. So it's not
like he usually throws in like an Afro beat or
something. So it's
Caribbean
not
rhythm
far fetched that he would do a whole album. And John is bumping. Like, that is a good workout album. That's just a good feel good album. But I found it quite hypocritical that Beyonce, comes along, drops his house record, and everyone's having, like meltdowns. Oh, she's giving. She's this, she's that, and the third. I'm like, isn't it possible that y'all are just big upping her for doing what Drake also did in the whole album?
Well, I mean,
like,
she can do no wrong in the eyes of her fans. Like, Drake has his own loyal fan base, but clearly Drake's hive is nothing compared to the beehive.
I need some more sour in that. Like, I feel like he is constantly trying to get me lit beyond what I'm trying to be.
You gotta pour your own poison. That's what they say.
Excuse me. Thank you.
I make my drinks for grown men and pop-ups.
Well, I'm not a grown man or a pop-up. But what do y'all think? Because I am into all sorts of different types of music. We've talked about music on our first season.
So, the one thing I'll say is I actually think it's cool. Like, I think Drake's album is cool. Surprisingly. Now, if I was 20, 25 years younger or something like that, I may not feel the same way.
25 years younger.
Excuse me.
Yeah, keep that over there. SARS, COVID.
Shut your face. No, but if I was younger, in my younger days, I wasn't as open to different facets of music. So I understand that at that one side that's like, Drake, we used to you giving us these songs about heartache or these raps where you talking your junk, you know what I mean? And now you gave us...
But he's still doing it on these songs.
He is in spots, but the problem I think that most of the people have is that dance music doesn't have any substance to it. It's a lot of...
I think that's where he's... it's repetition.
He might be giving you more than the typical dance music fare, but you've listened to this several times. I know because I've been present for it. That's the reason why I've heard it so many times.
It's calling my name.
Those songs are very repetitive.
They are.
Drake, in his own way, is a very repetitive artist as it is. He has multiple songs where he has just completely repeated entire verses. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but on this album, it's even more of that. And his cadence on there is kind of follows the songs. Like, you hear him use a similar type of melody. He's singing in a comparable tone on several songs. All that said, all the negatives to the side, or whatever you want to call them, opinions, insights, reviews, whatever, the beats bang.
They do.
The songs
it's my
are
workout
catchy.
playlist now.
You know what I mean? And even the ones where he actually raps, like Sticky.
Sticky he only has like one real rap song on there, and that's Jimmy Crooks. Sticky, it's kind of in between. But for the rest of the songs, he actually does have verses on them, not rap verses. Now, singing.
You know what else? On Sunday, I have a Sirius XM subscription. Don't judge me; it came with the car. But on Sundays, there's a channel. I can't remember the name of it right now. I would give them their props. but they play like chopped and screwed versions of music. They played like his whole album maybe like a week or two after it came out, and it sounded really dope like that. Surprisingly, it sounds really dope in that format because it is more. You can hear the lyrics a lot clearer, I guess is what it is. It's less about the beat. It's kind of like you can really just kind of vibe to it in that setting. So I liked hearing it like that. Hearing it like that made me like it even more. Is this something that I want to ride around and listen to all day? No. Is this something that I would put on though when the energy is low in the room and the kickback, or what I want to hear when I go to a club if I went to clubs? I'm too grown for clubs. But if I was a young boy and that came on and I was, it was back in the day and I was at Club Gotham or Philly Live or, dances or whatever, the spot was, Club Vegas, whatever, when I was a young boy. Stuff from when we was young boys.
You was young boys when it existed by the time I was a young boy.
But I digress. If it came on during that time, like, it would have been what's up. Like, who wouldn't want to be dancing with a girl when those songs come on? So everybody who's hating on it, either most of y'all probably can't dance, or you're just too narrow-minded to really appreciate things outside of your little.
We heavily reside in the mob mentality era. I think we've been there for a long time. So, Twitter fingers and the internet has given everybody a platform to have an opinion, including us. So I think when, it takes one person, people will, pile on, snowball, whatever, the conversation. And one of the things that I recognize is we as a society, like, we love to build people up, tear them down, and then watch them come back to the top before we give them their ultimate respect. And I feel like Drake is just in that season now. Like, he's been through the tear down. I feel like he's probably due for another one before they actually acknowledge the depth of his catalog, what he's accomplished musically. And people get so mad when they're like, he's like the Jay-Z of this generation. They get so mad because Jay-Z is an OG, but he was the OG of his generation. Drake's is a different generation. His music is for a different generation. So don't do that. So to give him his accolades for what he's been able to accomplish, because he's been going strong for about 15 years, and what he's amassed and accomplished in the time frame that he's been doing it, I feel like people need to acknowledge that. And it's not so much about whether you like his music or not. You don't have to like somebody's music to acknowledge the versatility or the accomplishments that they have under their belt. So when I hear stuff like that, oftentimes, what I wanted to talk to my brother about on the show, I feel like there is this staunch, people kind of dig their heels in about things, but they don't pay attention to context. And I feel like the response to his album, because now it's breaking all sorts of records, I feel like it's just representative of this mentality that some people just can't break, because it's just like, it can't be, because Jay-Z's the greatest, not even understanding context.
Well, a couple things. Jay-Z is a one-of-a-kind type of greatness. This is...
And we know what generation you come from. So.
But Jay-Z is literally like the Michael Jordan of rap. Michael Jordan was the best basketball player ever. There'll never be another Michael Jordan. Kobe was the closest thing that we ever got to it, and he wasn't better than Jordan. LeBron is great. He's not better than Jordan. Tim Duncan was great. He's not better than Jordan. You can put up the greats of all time up against them. They still not better than him. They're good in their time. There's also a such thing as being timeless, being so great that you're timeless. And that really, as much as people, especially younger people, right, may not want to admit this, Jay-Z is that. He's 50 years old right now, and people still want to hear from him.
But what people? That's the question. Our generation definitely wants to hear from him.
The point is that there's enough people who want to hear from him, that he's relevant. He's just as relevant as Drake, as a Nicki Minaj, as a Lil Wayne, as any of the modern day contemporaries.
Because I've read thousands, if not more, feedback, listened to several podcast snippets of a younger generation who doesn't agree. This is why I'm saying context matters. For our generation, for those born in a certain time frame, we view them as timeless. Case in point, there was a list my brother shared with me. We were talking about it off of Twitter, and it's like the 50 greatest R&B singers in the last 30 years. Now, 30 years spans back to when I was 7, right? So we're going back to the early 90s. And honestly, it's like they had some greats on there, and it was like from 1 to 20 or something like that, or 1 to 50. There were some greats on that list, but the way they had them ordered was wild. And sprinkled in amongst them were people who we wouldn't even consider legendary or greats, right? Like Jenny Aiko, no shade. I love me a good lo-fi vibe, but I wouldn't consider her great. They had Justin Bieber. They had it was different people mixed in with those things. And so what I'm looking at is, I read somebody's comment and they were like, this is clear, the more I look at this list, somebody who was born after 90s who wrote this list. And that really, I laughed when I read it, but it dawned on me that it was probably somebody even younger than that, because I know people who were born in the 90s who still know better. I would say our daughter's generation is probably the generation who wouldn't look at Jay-Z as timeless. My daughter was born in 2003, and Jay-Z was bumping at the time she was born. By the time she's now 19, they've had their rock stars and the people of their generation that they view to be greats.
But
so I look at it as a context thing. Like, we could scream all day long that Jay-Z is the Michael Jordan of, music or whatever for us, but it's not so for them. And that's one of the things that I think as an older generation, we feel like we have more say to hip-hop because we grew up with hip-hop like before our parents did, right? So we feel more invested in that hip-hop conversation. I think by the time our kids are in their 30s, they'll be in the same position we're in right now, talking about their generation. And that's what I'm saying. Every season has its time.
But that's not exactly what I'm saying, though. Because I'm not trying to take anything away from Drake by saying that Jay-Z is a timeless great. He's great whether you drop him in the 2000s, the late 90s, the early 90s. That's what I'm talking about by a timeless great.
Yeah,
but hold on, let me finish what I'm saying. It's not that it doesn't take away from Drake's impact or even anybody who's come during the 15 years that Drake has been living in his greatness. You have the thing that really proves it is the measuring stick by which we measure their greatness. Because just like Jordan,
isn't that subjective?
No, not necessarily, because
it's opinion based. It's definitely subjective.
It's not when you look at it, because how do you want to measure?
It's
their
never
greatness?
Factual.
No, it depends. Listen
subjective.
to what I'm saying, though. It depends on how you're measuring greatness, because you can measure it several ways. You can measure it by their profitability. You can measure it by record sales. You can measure it by cultural relevance. There's several things you can use. Their impact to the culture. Jay-Z has invested in several different products. We've seen everything from Rockaware to S. Carter's to record labels. He even had a car.
But we're not speaking to that stuff. We're speaking to music.
No,
right
but
now.
What I'm saying is any measuring stick that you want to pull out and measure greatness by, he still ranks in that top tier. When you, whatever
For
that measure,
us.
no, not, I'm saying literally, when you put numbers to it, whether you want to look at following, whether you want to look at record sales, whether you want to look at money generated by him as an artist, whether you want to look at whatever you put it against. The only time it gets subjective is when we're talking about lyrics. Because,
pause. So when we're talking about just from the aspect of him being timeless, we won't know if Drake is timeless until 20 years has passed by, and at 15
I
years
disagree
still
with
people.
that.
Well, excuse me, that's fine. As I was saying, 15 years passed by, there's still people banging old Drake songs now.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Why?
is he not
Because
timeless in his own right?
Drake is also timeless.
Okay, so but
and the
what
reason
I'm-
why I can say that is because literally Drake has more slaps than the Beatles. Like he said that, and it's a fact. Like he has had more number one hits than the Beatles, which have one of the most profitable catalogs in record industry history. He can say that. That's a timeless artist level of accomplishment.
But
he's has some of the most streamed music ever. He even with this dance album, he's setting all kind of
records. You just want to
records.
disagree.
No, I'm not disagreeing. What I'm
saying is that is my whole point. Is that when people make comments, especially the younger generation, about how they feel about Drake, I feel like our generation is so quick to shut it down, but they're not really understanding that for this generation of music listeners, no matter how much we think that Jay-Z is timeless, is a classic, and he's done A, B, and C, all those things are true. For them, Drake is their Jay-Z. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, and that's what I'm trying to get the older generation to understand. When I see these disputes and arguments going back and forth, I'm like, y'all really are not understanding that our time is up in terms of being tastemakers and having a say. Like,
that's subjective.
I feel like it's not, because to an extent, like even the wave of how music was gate kept, played on the radio, like we're living in different times. Like think streaming is a thing. Artists are coming out by droves just by independently putting themselves out there. The clamor for a record deal is not the deal anymore. Like, so there's so many things that have changed. Social media has changed the game for this generation of musicians and artists. So there's so many reasons why it's different for this generation that I feel as if we might feel like we have a bargain in this stake, but unless you're ready to pivot with the game, you really don't. And I also feel like, again, when we're just talking, conversing like two people sitting here right now, when these conversations come up, our generation likes to take this really, staunch stance on what's great and this, that, and the third. But I'm like, we measure it by the music we grew up on. It's not their music. Just like our parents think what we listen to for the most part is just trash.
Yeah.
Like, it's not their music. Like,
but
as somebody who's younger, I know how to appreciate Motown and music from the 70s and music even from the 50s and the 40s. I love listening to some Lena Horne. But I also had a different background and upbringing with appreciation for music. The way I view music is not going to be typically how everybody views music. So what I'm saying is, you may have your few in these generations, just like in our generation, who can have a full-on scope appreciation for the history of music. But for this generation, they're growing up on something different. So for their views to be dismissed just because we're older and we feel like, oh, we A, B, and C, it's like that resistance to let evolution happen. Like, all right, our time has come and gone. Like, let these kids decide what they want for their generation.
That's true. I mean, I agree with that in this regard. Like, when you get to the point where you are complaining about new music because it isn't what it was when you were growing up, that's when you start to sound like the old nigga in the club. Like, that's when you need to take a step back. You starting to sound like your mom and your dad and the get off my lawn guy. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's when you got to fall back. Like, when you can appreciate good music is good music, whether it came out in 1950 or it comes out in 2023. Like, good music is good music. It was whack music created in the beginning of hip-hop. It's whack music being created right now.
Right, because I can find about 5 tracks right now off the top of my head of rap songs that came out at the height of, like, when rap was becoming commercialized that were just trash.
If you really look at the trends of everything, like, there really, at any given time, is only really, like, 5 artists at a time that consistently can come out and drop whenever they want it. Like, to quote Jay-Z, who's the greatest MC, Biggie, Jay-Z, and Nas, like, that was a real argument for that time, but they were also the 3 best MCs at that time when that was a relevant
I'll
argument.
tell you right now, if you were to ask me who the greatest MCs were right now this time, I couldn't even tell you.
But the point of that is like that argument evolves over time, right? Like you might say Biggie, Jay-Z, or Nas. That prior to Jay-Z becoming who he was, that argument might have been Biggie, Nas, or Tupac. You know what I mean? Right now, it might be Drake, Cole, or Kendrick. For somebody else, it might be 21 Savage and, whoever else. They might be able to pull two other rappers out who I don't know. I think one of the biggest beefs that people from previous eras have with the music right now, and this isn't, to me, it has nothing to do with age. It has to do with an intelligent music ear, is that the music nowadays is disposable. It is very cookie cutter. It's very fast food. Let me give it to you as quick as I can, let you enjoy it for 2 weeks, and then you want to know where the next project is at.
But this is kind of why, all right, so I recently stumbled upon Lucky Day. I had heard songs by him every once in a while, but I'd never listened to an entire project. So I listened to Candy Drip first, which I love that album. So I went back and listened to Painted, and I love it. And what I loved most, what I really enjoy most about this album is the playback ability, but also I feel like I don't know anything about him as a musician or writer or any of those things, so don't quote me, I could be wrong. But I just feel like the production, the time taken to select the musical choices, the beats, I feel like it gave me range. I feel like it gave me range, and it gave me upbeat, it gave me tempos, it gave me ballads, it gave me a wide variety of feelings throughout the project, and it was well written too. Does he have the best voice on the planet? Absolutely not. But it's
Anymore.
Well, I don't think it's the worst either. But I think the fact that he's able to factor in good music, right? Lyrics writing. I don't know if he writes his own lyrics. Again, don't quote me. But I feel like he's a rare gem. He's one of the rare people that I would want to go see in 2022. That I would actually go to a Lucky Day concert. And I feel the same way about there's artists that I feel are slept on, Leanne LaHavis. Every project she does something different. Her sound changes, but she's so musically gifted. Her vocals are ridiculous. Her penmanship is so on point, and she sounds good. She has a beautiful voice. I would go see her live. I feel like there's so many artists out here who are, but they're, like you said, everything's so cookie cutter. People want it as fast as they can. If you don't have this huge social media presence, I think sometimes people are slow to catch on, and it's almost as if unless somebody uses your song for a reel or a TikTok to get you that burn, it's hard to get that recognition that's deserved when you really are a dope artist.
So now you're talking about a couple different things, right? Because one, when I say that the music is disposable, that doesn't mean that there's not a significant amount of good music out there. The problem that we have now is that music is more accessible than it's ever been.
Yeah.
It's easy. How many, you look at Chloe and Halle, you look at somebody like Tinashe, there's all kinds of artists out there that can be named, probably even somebody like Lucky Day, who now, if you are talented enough, you can be in your bedroom, never leave it, produce and engineer a whole album and give it to the world. Steve Lacy. Steve Lacy was producing music for people with a broke iPhone and a bass guitar. He had an iRig, a bass guitar, an iPhone with a busted screen, and he was producing tracks for Kendrick Lamar. It's amazing what people can do now. I went to school for music production. I found a college that offered the course in music production. I learned it. And at the time, it was impossible to buy music equipment. $500 would get you a beat machine. $1,000 couldn't even get you a decent setup on the low end with cheap equipment, used hand-me-down equipment. The computers and the software and all that stuff was so expensive at the time. It was almost impossible to get a setup for less than $2,500. Nowadays, for $200-$300, you can have a full-blown studio, and all you need is a computer of almost any condition, and you can get started. You know what I mean? You can have an iPhone and literally make decent music that you can sell. There's a guy who I just seen that sold a beat that he made with FL Studio for the phone. Like, it's so many opportunities now. But what that means is anybody can make music. Anybody can put it in the atmosphere for everybody to enjoy. The problem is, how do you get to the front of the line? What you were talking about, somebody has to make it real. Well, what you don't know is that, or what you may know and not enough people are talking about, is that the music industry is telling people like, yo, you need to make a hot TikTok.
Yep.
Because the artists get paid off of TikTok streams, just like they do off of Spotify and everything else. Like, that stuff, every now and then you get somebody like the boy that made Corvette that organically blow up. Wanted to be famous, yeah, like that joint. But even her, we just watched the thing about how she had her shine stolen by some Asian joint, and TikTok made that the official sound
because TikTok is Asian based, and it's an Asian pop artist.
Taraji P. Henson had to give that girl her shine, her appropriate shine on a BT award show. Like, there's so much, even though record deals aren't the chosen path of success for artists anymore, those same gatekeepers still are pushing people to the front of the stream, because the streaming platforms are owned by all the record labels. Like, those people that were helping you get record deals in the past aren't helping you get record deals now. They helping you get on the playlist. They helping you get to the front of the playlist.
Can I just say, how do I be so dope that I create playlists that Spotify want to pay me for? Because I feel like I could commit to this if I knew there was some money at the end of that tunnel. What I gotta do?
The commitment has to come when it isn't any money. That's the thing. Like, you have to. That's how you craft lanes. Like, I don't understand that part of it. I don't know how to make that stuff pop.
You brought something up too that I wanted to talk about since we're having this music discussion, regardless of us saying we didn't have to. Chloe, how do we feel about people's perception of Chloe, how she presents performance-wise, her song choice? There's a lot of people who feel like she's done the good girl gone bad, or that she's changed her persona. But I counter with, how do you know that this wasn't always who she was? Like, and the fact that she's older, she's not 12 anymore, like when she came out. Like, what are your thoughts?
I also think it's almost like a necessary evil when you want to, as you grow up with an artist, like, at some point they kind of have to, and not because I think they have to, but history tells us at some point they have to cross that line. Like, whether it's a moral integrity line, whatever you want to call it, like, they have to suddenly go hard to the left after they've been this clean teeny bopper. Like, we seen it happen with Rihanna. We seen it happen with
But yeah, there's a lot of conspiracy theories on MKUltra and all that stuff.
And the same thing can probably be said about her.
Oh, I'm sure.
But that's a whole nother podcast episode. We're not getting into that right now. But, like, we seen it happen with Rihanna. We seen it happen with Britney Spears. We seen it happen with Justin Timberlake. We seen it happen with, you can even say kind of with Christina Aguilera, even though I think she made that break earlier than some of the other artists. There's somebody else that I was going to say, though.
Britney Spears.
Oh, Hannah Montana. You seen it happen with her.
What is her real name? What's that girl
Miley
name?
Cyrus.
Miley Cyrus.
You seen it happen with her. Like, she went from being Hannah Montana, next thing you know, she's in trap videos, walking around in skimpy shorts and stuff.
Didn't nobody ask to see that either,
Nobody asked to see that. And now she's like, it's like stages that they got to go through. Even like when you talked about like how We like to build our artists up, then tear them down and watch them rebound. See if they can rebound from that before we give them their proper respect. Like that literally is a thing. Like if you watch Puff Daddy, you see how he had all that crazy success with Bad Boy when Bad Boy was new, and even before that with Jodeci and Mary J. Blige, he had an incredible run. And then the hate came with Frida Locks and Mace leaving and all these other little things that happened along the way where you hear about disgruntled artists and this, that, and the third, and you come to his Public Enemy album, and people were dying for him to fall off, and he suffered from it, but then he rebounded. You see it with Jay-Z. Jay-Z, after he did that Hard Knock Life album, those next albums, people was tired of him. Like his sound changed. He didn't have that same hunger. He was successful. He couldn't rap about the same thing. You see it happen with Snoop. But once you get over that hump, that inevitable hump that comes, people love you for it, and they stop tearing you down once they see that you're strong enough, that you built the last, that you can withstand.
Why are we
that.
like this? Like
I can't explain it. And the funny thing about it is, it's only with black music, I think.
Yeah.
It's almost like I seen T-Pain do this interview, and he talked about how he started doing work with country artists and how they didn't understand what leaks were, because that's not a thing in their music world. Like nobody's stealing their album and bootlegging it. Like we don't need Kenny Chesney before Kenny Chesney is coming out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that the white boy ain't going to the gas station to get that Garth Brooks 3 weeks before it come out. You know what I'm saying?
Garth Brooks is Chris Gaines. I might. Can we bring that back? I feel like they try to wipe that from the internet too. Do y'all remember? I know this is but few years, not few years. Okay, it's been more than a few years. But Garth Brooks did an alter ego album as Chris Gaines. I'm not. My memory needs to be here for these episodes. Yes, and that song was banging. No, listen, I know, because Chris Gaines was hot. Garth Brooks, I could tolerate some of his stuff, but bring Chris Gaines back. I'm putting out a petition. I want Chris Gaines, circa 90, whatever it was, early 2000s. Yes, bring back Chris Gaines. I know somebody somewhere is gonna know what I'm talking about.
They
Google
know
it.
what you're
Garth
talking
Brooks
about.
and Chris Gaines.
They don't
ask
want
you what you thought.
They do not want it.
Nobody ask you, make a drink.
We do not
that.
care.
Make a drink. This is why we're always headed to divorce court every time.
Take me to divorce
You are
court.
not about to Amber Heard me and Johnny's at me. Fine, divorce me. Divorce me.
I have recorded video
Divorce
evidence.
Me. Do it.
I have a case.
Do it.
Anyway, let's get back to the topic.
Now, when he try to butter me up later on tonight because he trying to get something popping, I want you to keep the same energy that you giving to people right now.
You pour your own poison. You complain
now you
about
see him
my
being
drinks.
disrespectful.
You complain about my drinks.
Now you pour your own poison.
No, I told you that last time.
Anyway, back to Chloe. I feel like we have this issue with letting artists grow up. She's not 12 anymore. Does that mean I'm going to agree with every choice and decision she makes? Absolutely not. I don't agree with a lot of y'all choices. It's just none of my business. But I think the flack that they give her, for being an adult, like she's not a child anymore. That girl is like 23 or something like that.
It'll pass.
And I'm sure it will. I just be like, y'all don't be over the same trope every time. Like y'all don't be over these comment sections. Like y'all just gonna give the same energy every time this happens. Like now we know that this is just a thing. People grow up, people's music change. We still gonna be in these streets acting a fool in the comment section because she out here. What is she doing that's so different from the rest of these artists?
The thing about it too is like, at the end of the day, whether we like whether we like her as a artist, a performing artist or not, like that girl can outlive all of this hate because she actually knows how to make good music and she can sing. So like whether she continues to make her living on stage in these Beyonce like onesies and doing all this.
You gotta
this
remember she has a
scandalous stuff.
stylist. Like there's a team behind her.
I personally, I'm not willing to hate on her for doing it, but I don't want to see that. And
for sure. Like I don't want to see it. Like,
I'm not gonna hold you. I'm 42. She's not that much older than my daughter, so when I see anything scandalous from her, it makes me feel like a dirty old man, and I have to turn it off. And I like Chloe and Halle's music. Am I listening to them on a regular basis? No, but you play songs of theirs that I like. I have a couple songs that I like.
I like some of their music. I like some. I haven't really loved any of Chloe's singles. I kind of like Surprise, but then it just takes a crass turn at Put My Panties to the Side, and I'll just be like, this is not what I need in my life right now.
I can't.
And I think and I know I'm not super old, but I'm 37, and like he said, we have a daughter that is 19. Chloe is a couple years older than my daughter, so that inherent need to mother, and I know there's a lot of dispute and arguing over, you have to control women's sexuality and stuff. I'm not getting in the middle of that. I'm just saying, as a mom, I don't want to see my daughter sexually. Even if she is going to be a sexual being because she's an adult or whatever, like, I don't want to see it. And I don't want to see it for Chloe or anybody else her age because it just hits too close to home for me.
I don't want to see my daughter doing that. I don't want to see your daughter doing that. I don't want to see my daughter's friends doing that. Like, it's just nasty. Like, that's the problem. And at the end of the day, I am a man. I find women visually stimulating, but at a certain point, like, when you're near my daughter's age, like, it's gross. Like, I can't enjoy that. I can't appreciate that. It just makes me feel like, girl, go back in the room and put some clothes on. Like, we got company. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I'm sure there are plenty of people who disagree with you, but I appreciate you for that. Because there's something to be said, like, when it's a thing right now on TikToks and Reels, all these young boys, and they're gorgeous, handsome young men, and they're ranging anywhere from between 18 to 25 or something like that. When my homies be posting stuff or they share me stuff, I just be like, whose child is this? And I don't care if you're handsome, he could be handsome, but like, I am irked. I know this is gonna sound weird, but I am irked by these thirst trap. I'm in my towels, I'm glistening in baby oil and shea butter, and I'm smiling at the camera. Like, you have a beautiful smile, young man, but can you please put a shirt on? Like, it just, like he said, and these are young men who are close to my daughter's age. Like, I don't care how grown you look in the
my
face.
My nephew's age.
Right.
Or my son's age. Like, my son is not that old. No. But he's grown man size. Like, he looks like a grown man. So, like, I look at, if you 20 years younger than me, I'm looking at you
like a child.
Like you,
and to be honest, a lot of these young men are about 10 years younger than me, 15 years younger than me. I don't care. Like, I don't want to see it. And maybe, I'm not saying other people are wrong for it. Just me personally, like, I just be thinking, like, you're my child. It's not for me. I just want to parent you. Like, but I will say that's been my nature for a long time. Like, I parent everybody.
And I feel the same way about y'all old niggas that's out here making your thirst trap videos too.
No, I like those. I don't care if you. I'm an ageist all day. Give me the salt and pepper. Okay, give me the white hair.
I do not want to see you walking around with your beard and your little drawers over here. No, she don't. I don't want to see you with your beard and your little drawers making your thirst trap videos talking about you happily married. Get the F out of here. You looking for a side piece. You looking for a side piece. You looking for a jump off. You looking for a threesome or something. You're nasty. Go put some pants on. Go put a shirt on. And stop thirst trapping out here. You too grown for that, nigga. When you get over the age of 40, the thirst traps need to go. More power to you, King. If you in shape and you look good and all that.
Yeah, you just sound salty.
Don't be out. You too mature to be out here.
No, you're not. You are not too mature to be out here flexing your grown man AARP card. I love it.
them old head boys.
Keep that energy.
Away.
Put the moccasins
Save that
on.
for the gym.
Put
now,
the Grill Masters 2.0 on.
The young girls want to pull up at you when you at Planet Fitness. That's your thing. Do your thing over at Planet Fitness and LA Fitness. That's your business. You know what I'm saying? Go hard in the paint there. But stay off Instagram. Like you predate cell phones. Like if you predate cell phones, you should not be out here on Instagram thirst trapping.
What's
You should not be
doing
on
with
TikTok
the hips, baby, like,
thirst trapping. Nah.
We like it. We do.
No.
Ain't that the dance?
I'm gonna tell you right now, if you born before 1985, and
yes, I'm trying to see it.
He
does not represent the delegation of A. So let me just say,
you go right in the box with.
Do you know the Granddaddy Squad,
and,
the white boy and his friends who be they be roller skating, but they got this squad. Man, listen. I'm here for it. SSA. Come through Social Security.
For Butterball Sundays and
call me.
And what is it? The stepping little events they
have
on the weekends.
I'll go and record for y'all because I feel like we need that kind of stuff sprinkled on my timeline to give me joy.
Yeah, save that for that. Save that for
y'all. Can keep it on TikTok.
Because these
I'm
young
somebody
girls don't
auntie.
need you messing up their life.
Well, I'm not a young John, so don't speak. We not speaking for the young
girls. Those are the same old head niggas that be trying to crack on my niece when I take her to the Dollar Tree.
Listen. What I'm saying is,
if you older than
visually, y'all can produce content. We need more leveled out. So I don't mind having grown people sprinkled on my timeline. So y'all can continue doing the Lord's work as far as I'm concerned. This just sounds like a little bitter hatefulness from Bear. It's all right. It's okay.
There's no hate.
Let's wrap this up.
Stay fit.
Just again,
my Instagram.
Well, change what you view. You can curate your timeline anyway.
I think you might have sent me the last stupid video like that I seen. Nasty.
So as we wrap it up. This wasn't the full music episode we intended to have, so we'll definitely have to revisit that with my brother, who's a far worse argumentative person than this one when it comes to music, because he likes to just play devil's advocate all the time. But at any rate,
he's much more get off my lawn.
Yeah, he's definitely old head. Just like, my brother's only 2 years older than me, but he is 70 at heart.
He turned his nose up when you say Lucky Day.
And you cannot say Drake because it's not even a conversation he's willing to have. But we're going to have it anyway once we get back to the next episode. But thank you guys so much for joining us. Of course, feel free to sound off on your thoughts on the music industry as is. Are we just old? Do we need to give this new generation their time to shine?
I'm not old. I listen to everything. I like everything. I don't literally like everything, but I'm willing to give everything a chance. So y'all old niggas is hating on anything that don't sound like EPMD.
Was born in 1980. He old. At any rate,
hating on anything that don't sound like EPMD and rock.
Feel free to engage with us on _J podcast over on Instagram. And of course, drop comments down below.
And I live in the South, nigga. I listen to some of that ratchet trap stuff too. It's a time and a place for everything.
You really trying to make a sale here?
No, I'm not. Because I was listening to Master P back in the day. I had that Ghetto Dope CD. I still got it in the back somewhere. Ghetto Dope.
For those of you who are listening to this and not watching this, y'all don't even understand the levels of frustration upon my face right now. We thank y'all so much.
You ain't hear that Ghetto Dope? You know that drum was banging back when that came out. That was that 98, 99.
So this how you know he's getting the old head. Y'all seen that TikTok where it's like now that Aunt Letha is related to my great cousin Abastine. This him right now. Like I've been trying to rap for the last 2 minutes and he keep going.
They're we thank sisters.
We thank y'all. And we got called to wrap here. Thank you for joining us on AJ Podcast. We will catch you next time.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Bye.
God bless you.
Okay, we doing too much. Dude.